Welcome back to Morning Barbados, and for the rest of the show, we're going to be trying to look at different aspects of the project to bring Wi-Fi all around Barbados, and it's being spearheaded, of course, by the Barbados Entrepreneurship Foundation, and it's free wireless access from rum shop to bus stop. We've spoken about it before. We're going to see how far we've gotten. We have the program manager of the BEF, Chris Harper, in with us this morning. Good morning and welcome back, Chris.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, we're good. Well, we're getting close to 11. Well, you know, well, at least we're a little bit closer than we were the last time we were spoken. Are we getting any bit closer to spreading that rash, as they call it, the Wi-Fi rash?
The rash is actually growing, and we're getting tremendous support from lots of individuals, companies, etc. I mean, there are plans in place for a company to Wi-Fi the whole Oistins area. There's also Lex Caribbean has also thrown a kilometer around their building in Worthing. You also have in Woodland St. George, where McKinney Rogers' office is, they have a mushroom of a kilometer, and lots of smaller businesses are coming on board. You know, up to last night on our Facebook, we have this Facebook page. We saw Surfers Cafe came on board, and it's really spreading, and it's really, you know, the people that are saying this, and you know, we trying to create a people's covenant, you know, where the people of Barbados say this is what we want, this is what we expect, this is what the definition of universal access should be, that it should be a level of, you know, basic internet connectivity for all people of this country. And we're asking people to go to our Facebook page and like the page. So, I mean, in a short space of time, we're up to 6,000 hits. We're trying to get, by the end of September, 50,000 hits. And we're going to do a big campaign on the 24th of September. We're going to be in Heroes Square. We're going to be, you know, spreading out our stickers, letting people know what is happening, and really making this happen. So it's getting there.
Okay, that's what we'd like to hear,
yeah,
for
definitely.
sure. And clearly from the picture on screen, that's what we call the Wi-Fi spotter, and it's definitely spreading, but it seems to be more intense along the south coast. How are we going to make that happen along the west and really move it around Barbados?
Well, I mean, it's spreading up the west coast as well, because a lot of smaller companies are, you know, got to see the value in having Wi-Fi in their properties, you know. Sometimes, I mean, on a personal level, sometimes our communications team, because it's all volunteers and people working and stuff, we have meetings like in the evening at 6 o'clock. And we chose to have our meetings at the Marriott Courtyard for the simple fact that they have Wi-Fi. There were a couple of other options in the area that came up, but we decided, okay, you know, they got Wi-Fi. That was the decision, and we've held all of our meetings there as a result of that. So people are really getting on to the idea that, you know, this is really a good thing, is a good service.
The way to go.
And it's the way to go. You know, it only makes us more connected. It's a better place.
Right.
And talking about the volunteer and the committee, we are joined by a volunteer committee and Wi-Fi team member, Tara Frater. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're glad that you can make it. So you're volunteering, you're out there in the trenches, I suppose. What are the feedback you're getting?
I think that people are actually very excited about this initiative, and people recognize generally that e-literacy is the new literacy, and that in fact we cannot afford to fall behind the wave of the future. So there is tremendous support, I find, on the ground, and I believe that all that we need to do is to just continue building momentum so that we can reach our ultimate objectives.
Okay.
What are some of the concerns you may have been getting when you discuss this idea with businesses, or, you know, what are some of the things that they're pushing back with?
Well, typically one of the first concerns that people express tends to center around security and how it is that they can address these issues. But we try to assure people that there are actually ways to deal with these issues, and that one of the methods that we would tend to recommend is for people to perhaps create a guest network so that they can actually limit the use of the bandwidth that outsiders may have, so that it doesn't compromise their own usage. And there are different ways that you can deal with these issues. So we always assure people that it's not something that you can't get around, but we understand those concerns.
Have you met any of the people who have not yet found this new e-literacy? And how do you deal with them once you do?
Well, we try to That's a difficult question because surprisingly a lot of people are fairly illiterate. I think it's very difficult in this day and age not to be illiterate or to even be conscious of technology and of the way that it's now used. For example, we're at the Barbados Youth Festival and we were speaking to a lady there, and she was already hyper-connected. She had her mobile out, she had her iPad, her daughter was using her iPad, and you know, they're really quite savvy, fairly savvy already. But for the persons who are not there as yet, we try to enlighten them as to the opportunities that are available to them on the internet, because what you're accessing is information, and knowledge is power, as we all know. And if you do not have the knowledge, and if you do not understand the way that the world is moving and what opportunities are out there for you, you will be left behind. So we try to impress that urgency upon everyone that we deal with.
And speaking about the way that the world is moving, Chris, mobility 10 years ago was probably a 10-pound laptop. You know, a lot of people didn't want to lug around with it. Now you can have an e-book, you can have your smartphone, whatever. So that too is helping, or should be making people want to be able to connect wherever they go, and that's
definitely. And the thing about it is, people are constantly on the go. People have their Blackberries. They're working continuously, and you should not be limited in your ability to conduct your business because of your limited access to Wi-Fi. And it will make Barbados more competitive, and competitiveness is what will take us as a country forward, you know, move us from the index of from 43 probably closer up to more like 20, but you just need to get people more competitive, and this is a good way to start. And I mean, when you think about situations really, you know, in a doctor's office, and sometimes, or any office, and you may have to spend an hour or 30 minutes, whatever the case may be, and if you had connectivity, how much more could you be doing? If you had that time, you'd probably be upset when they call your name, as opposed to sitting down reading magazines that may be slightly dated.
Right.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to ask about benefits to people who are not really running, because you mentioned having a meeting at a specific location, and that is an obvious benefit for that location, because you may buy some drinks, whatever.
Of course.
But then there are other people who might say, but it's not a real benefit for me. But you just mentioned something very important. If you have people waiting, they may not mind waiting so much at your location if they have this sort of access.
Yes, exactly. And it is really, you may not necessarily, sometimes the benefits are always obvious. Sometimes you realize the benefits as you go forward. And I mean, there's so many other things that you could do apart from just providing the Wi-Fi. There's situations where you can create landing pages, so anybody in your environs can actually, when they log on to your network, they have to see an ad about your business. They can be telling you about a special that is coming up if you're selling a service or products or whatever the case may be. There's also advertising benefits, because if you're getting enough people hitting your page, you can tell some person who wants to advertise on your page, the demographic of people that are hitting my page are between this category, and they get X amount of hits. So you can track all of this depending on how sophisticated you set up your network. So could you imagine walking through St. Lawrence Gap as a tourist, and you pull out a Wi-Fi device and you hook up on a landing page, and it tells you, you know, this restaurant has a special on, this is the special at this, and some entrepreneur is controlling that landing page and selling that advertising to these people. There's so many. I mean, the only limit is really how creative you are.
Correct.
You know?
In closing, when's the next forum?
The next forum is going to be on the 20th of September, and we're not quite sure what we're going to present yet, but it will be a very interesting topic along the lines of entrepreneurship. But I somehow think we're gonna, as it approaching the 11/11 on, we probably will have one that would be more like an update of where we are.
Excellent.
And along the lines of connectivity.
Excellent. Great talking with you both. We heard from Tara Frater. She's a volunteer with the committee. She's with the volunteer committee and Wi-Fi team member, and she was joined by Chris Harper. He's the program manager with the Barbados Entrepreneurship Foundation. Thanks to both of you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're talking all about Wi-Fi today. 11/11/11.
It's coming.
On.
Yep. And we will be continuing that discussion when we come back on Morning Barbados.